Which team is projected to win the NCAA team race? Let's stop stalling and start talking wrestling. What's going on, wrestling fans? My name's Josiah, and welcome to Fanco Wrestling, your source for college wrestling news and discussion. And there's a lot on the line for the team race. I think that Arizona State, NC State, Wisconsin, Cornell, and Ohio State are all in good spots to make the podium, which is awesome. But I don't think they have quite enough to place first, because in order to do that, they would have to overtake one of these top three teams. Let's dive into that. First of all, Penn State is projected to win the NCAA team race with 140 points. I did these projections myself with spreadsheets and scoring algorithm. The Nittany Lions have 6 wrestlers who are seated in All-American position. And to be honest with you, they have 5 guys who could realistically make the finals. Before you call that crazy, don't forget that they had a similar amount last year and in the past. Personally, I think a couple of the draws for these guys are going to be kind of rough, and they have some tough battles ahead. But there is good news in that Drew Hildebrandt, who is the number 16 seed, I really think that he can outplace that seed. He made the stand last year, and if he does it again this year, he's going to add some critical points for Penn State. And on top of that, we all know how good Penn State is when the lights are shining bright. But can anybody beat them? The first team that could pull an upset is Michigan, who's projected to finish in second place with 127 points. Now, Michigan has actually never won an NCAA title before, and the last time they even finished runner-up was back in 2005. But in their 100th season, could they pull this off? I mean, they just pulled off the Big Ten championships, right? The good news is for Michigan, they have 2 guys as number 1 seeds. On top of that, they have 8 projected All-Americans, with almost all of the wrestlers qualifying for the national championship. Similar to the Hildebrandt situation, I see Mason Parris outplacing his seed, which is number 7. But for the rest of these guys, I don't see a lot of room for change, with one exception. But the bottom line is these guys are going to have to place what they're seeded or higher to win the title. Now, the one exception I was talking about is Stefan Micic at 141 pounds. And although I've said it in the past, like he's a national finalist, I don't think he's quite wrestling up to that caliber this year. He lost his first round at the Big Ten championships, but he did battle back for that 3rd and 4th place match and ended up taking 4th. He's the number 24 seed, so if he gets onto the podium, that's going to add some critical points for Michigan. So who's the last team? Yes, it's the Iowa Hawkeyes, who are projected to finish in 3rd place right now with 108 points. I know it's a big change from the beginning of the season to now, and losing Spencer Lee was definitely a detriment to them. But imagine if he was here and we had that Suriano and Spencer Lee final, and what if that is what the team race relied on, was that match? But that's me just living in a fantasy wrestling world. So let's talk about those Hawkeye seeds. I honestly think that there is room for growth for Iowa. Just look at Austin DeSanto, who's the number 5 seed, and I don't see him in any world placing lower than 3rd, but if he does end up beating, let's say, Rowan Bravo Young in the semifinals and making the finals, that adds so many points for Iowa while taking points away from Penn State. I think your typical Hawkeyes are going to continue to do well on the big stage with Michael Kemmerer and Jacob Warner. A couple of the question marks are Caleb Young. Can he make the stand? And Alex Marinelli, who has underperformed at Nationals, is this going to be his year? And on top of that, you got Drake Ayala, who is really the wild card for the Hawkeyes at 125. 125 is, besides the first few guys, really an open weight to make it onto the stand. And if he does, that's going to help make up for Spencer Lee's absence. The good news is for the Hawkeyes, I really think that similar to Penn State, they have a potential for 4 to 6, not just All-Americans, but finalists. But personally, I think the teams are going to finish Penn State, Michigan, Iowa, and then NC State. If you want the rest of my projections on the top 25 teams and where I think they'll finish, you can check that out in my postseason primer right here, along with stats on all 330 qualifiers, dark horses, in my opinions and thoughts on the college wrestling championships. You can check it out at that link right there.